International, that happens to be a wealth management company. Our guest has written a book, and the title of that book is What Went Wrong with Capitalism? Ruchir Sharma joins us now. It sounds like there's something wrong with capitalism. So my question is kind of in reverse. Is America still a country based on individual liberty and capitalist meritocracy? Is it still that kind of country?
No, unfortunately, we're moving in the wrong direction. As I argue in the book, that what we have today is a very distorted form of capitalism. It's almost as if it's an extension of socialized risk. The risk has been totally socialized in this economy. And so therefore, we have this perverse outcome where on the upside, it appears as if it's capitalism, where a few people get to benefit. On the downside, the government's role has increased so much in the economy today, where it is no longer about free markets doing what they want. It is very much government directed.
So you're talking about what I would call the deep state. The bureaucracy which runs things the way they want them to be run.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Yes, that's exactly. Because if you look at all the data that I've collected here, which is that the number of new regulations that Washington puts into place every year is running at a pace of nearly 3,000 new regulations a year. The number of regulations that's been withdrawn over the last 20 years has been 20 in total. So it is very asymmetry which is going on in the American economy today. And so therefore, if you look at in terms of our economic freedom, and the Heritage Foundation has these indices, we used to rank in the top 5. We have slipped all the way to number 25. And the role of government has expanded not just in terms of regulation, it's also got to do with government spending, which in the last 100 years has been on a secular increase. We're at 36% of GDP today. And then also this concept of bailing out, that every time an American company gets into trouble, the impulse of the policymakers is we need to rush and bail this company out. Now, this is not how America used to be. When the concept of bailouts is relatively new in America. It really started in 1984 with the first big bailout of continental Illinois. So
you sound a lot like Trump. You sound as if you're saying a lot of the things that Trump would say. Less regulation, less bureaucracy, less government. Are you with Trump?
No, but unfortunately what's happened is that even in his administration, they did not implement some of this stuff.
True.
This is what I said.
He got rid of some regulations. Though.
Yeah, but by the end, he implemented so many in the final 18 months or so that there was no real big change in that. And then you look at the deficit spending too. There was no real cut in spending. And that's what I'm arguing, that today what you need here is for America to get back to its roots, a course correction in capitalism, because the average person in America is feeling very disaffected. 70% of Americans per poll numbers want some deep change to take place in the American economic system.
Okay, what about the cultural system? How do you feel about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI? How do you feel about free speech, the rule of law? I mean, are we slipping backwards in those areas?
Yes, we are. And I think that, there's one thing very important here, which I point out in the book. You talk about culture. I say the kind of culture that we have moved in America today is very analogous to the pain management culture that Americans have gotten used to, which is that at the slightest hint of trouble, you prescribe opiates and other drugs. And so we have got hooked and become part of this opiate crisis in this country. And I think that the same analogy has gone to the economy, which is that at the slightest hint of trouble of any big business or even a small, like anyone getting in trouble, we just want to give the economy more pain medicine. So we've got hooked to this, and the business cycle, the way it should be, has almost gotten eliminated because of this asymmetry that's taking place.
This is fascinating. I wish you could name a politician who will do all that you want to be done with American capitalism. Have you got one in mind?
Unfortunately not, and that's what I'm looking for. But I think that that's what most Americans are looking for. As I said, that there's something wrong when most people in America, in fact, the data that I have in the book is that 35% of Americans think that they are not going to, that they will be better off than their parents. Only 35%. That number used to be 80%.
Yes, when I first came to America, 50 years ago, it was exactly right. We thought we could move up the food chain because
but
of
now
meritocracy.
Social mobility, they're all at record lows.
Look, Ruchir, it's Ruchir, correct?
Yes,
Ruchir
right.
Sharma.
That's right.
I got it right. Thanks for joining us. That's fascinating.